Welcome to the Agency Founder Podcast. Are you ready to grow your marketing agency? We pull back the curtain to show you how real marketing agency founders struggled, built, and scaled their agencies. Practical advice, lessons learned, wins, and losses. We hold nothing back. Now your host, Jeremy Sonny.
Welcome to the Agency Founder Podcast by Moonshine Marketing. Every single week, we interview successful founders of marketing agencies at different points of their journey to pass on their victories, defeats, challenges, and lessons learned to help you take your agency to new heights. This week, we're speaking with James Isaacs, the co-founder of ChatCloud, a messenger marketing agency, and Gym Zag, a gym and fitness studio marketing agency. James, thank you so much for being with me here today.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Jeremy, and hello to everyone.
I really appreciate it. We've known each other for a little while. This is the first time I've heard GymZag, which is exciting. This is the big debut, right? My podcast is turning into a debutante ball, essentially, I think. But yeah, that's new for you, right?
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, we literally right around the new year said, look, we need to kind of like take a new strategy, a new approach. And so that's sort of how GymZag was born.
That's really interesting. And we're going to dig super into that. But first, for all the folks that don't know you, tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you get into all of this? What's your background? How'd you end up in the salt mines of Facebook ads like the rest of us?
I love it, man. The salt mines of Facebook. Yeah, so when I was 8, I started a lemonade stand. That's a total joke. You told me to say that. So I was just I'm going to say.
Tell you to say that. I gave it as an example.
No, actually, so I've, on a semi-serious note, I've always had an interest in business. And, just by way of explanation here, nearly a year and a half ago, I was active duty military. I was a Marine. And I had a 16-year career with the Marine Corps. Very successful. My last duty station was at the Pentagon, and all that was wonderful. But you know how it is. You just have this burning desire deep in your heart. You're like, I love what I'm doing. I love service. I've served, and I've worked in a service capacity my entire life. And that's how I approach agency work, actually. And just as a side note, it's a form of service, right? And so, really sort of what precipitated a major change for me is just this burning desire that I'd had for many, many years, going all the way back to like my college days. And I used to like tie-dye t-shirts, when I was in school. I worked I had a couple side gigs, I wanted to roll around to Grateful Dead concerts. I'm dating myself here. And, sell tie-dye t-shirts. And I made some pretty kick-ass t-shirts back in the day, by the way.
Right. Well, I don't know that much about the Marines, but that seems kind of like the opposite of the Marines. You know what I mean? Tie-dye t-shirts and Grateful Dead concerts. Like, I don't know. Tell me about that. That's an interesting like mashup though, that all entrepreneurs kind of have those like interesting mashups of interest, right? That leads you to kind of that road. But so you were rolling around selling tie-dye t-shirts at Grateful Dead concerts. What was that like? That's really fascinating to me.
Actually, I tell you, if I didn't have people at the time advising me to do differently, I was prepared to leave school entirely and just make that my full-time thing because it was quite lucrative. My product was really good. I could sell it at a very high price point. Looking back on it, in a way, I was sort of doing POD before POD. You know what I mean? I did custom designs on the front and the back and all that stuff.
Yeah, like manufacturing on demand on site.
Yeah, manufacturing on demand. I like it. MOD. That's cool. Yeah. So anyway, I did that back in the day, but at some juncture, I was like, hey, international development. Now we're really getting crazy here. International development is more where I wanted to focus my attention. So, for a brief time there, I was doing things like starting investment funds. We were investing in small and medium enterprises overseas. The idea there being, look, you go into a place that is poverty stricken, you create jobs and opportunity, and, empower people basically to build businesses that let them take control over their lives, build the financial wherewithal to determine their own destiny in a manner of speaking. And then 9/11 happened. So that, I'm fast forwarding a few years there. And I was, in the very first class of, Marine officers to go through training. And that was 3 weeks right after 9/11. So that's kind of how that came about.
That's really intense. It sounds like I'm sure there was a lot of emotional kind of highs. So, I guess an interesting question I have just regarding like your background, like, is there, you've been in business for about a year and a half. Are you seeing a ton of like crossover from your days in the military? Like, tell me about that. Is there like a lot of transferable skills and like attitudes and approaches to like process and things that you think are kind of giving you like an advantage over some of the other folks? Like, because I'm actually genuinely curious. I think that there could be kind of from an outsider looking in, but I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, actually, that is an awesome question. And I could really, I can and I will talk about that at length. Let me get you, if you're cool with it, I want to interject a quick point before I do, which is to basically talk about, business is in a lot of ways, when I was coming out of the Marine Corps, right? So it's one thing to have like this fire, this desire. I want to get out and I want to be in business. But then the next question you got to answer is, well, what are you going to do? That seems like, for people that have been in it, that seems like, hey, no big deal, right? Or maybe they sort of have arrived at the thing they're doing. It's been an organic evolution for them. But when you're like, literally, you have to understand that like the Marine Corps, military service in general, I think this is probably true, sort of like consumes your entire life, right? So right up to the day that I was getting out, other than like this, optimistic idea that I was going to start a business and be successful, which I still believe, is a true statement. Right up until that point, I was thinking to myself, yeah, I'll just go into business. I got this, right? It's just that total sense of confidence. And part of that, so coming back to your question, that's part of the answer. What you learn in military service is just a total sense of confidence in your ability to get things done. So, come hell or high water, you'll figure it out. And I think that is definitely a strength that, I bring to what I do today.
Absolutely. I mean, grit and determination is massive. I see so many people that are right on the cusp of success, and they just pack it up, go home too hard. And I think that I definitely can see how that transfers over.
Yeah, I mean, you got to labor away. You got to labor away. You got to figure it out. And you've been there. One of the things that I respect and love about you is you just have this ability to jump into virtually any ad platform and figure it out and then get really good results. And I'm just like, and I'm like, hey man, have you ever done this? And you're like, yes, I have. And I'm like, holy cow, tell me about it. And you're like, well, I did this and the other. And I'm like, oh man, I couldn't get that kind of experience if it took me 2 or 3 years.
I'll tell you what, I think that in my case, it's a lot less romantic determination and grit and get it done attitude and more of a naivety, but, just like willingness to just go for it and see what happens. I like to think I have good perspective in that, like, what's the worst that could happen. But yeah, so that's really fascinating though. So you're doing the military, you come out, you say business, right? How'd you actually land at marketing agency? What was the like process that like said, okay, I'm going to do a business, right? And that's totally legit. Like I did when I started, I was going to do tech, right? And I was mostly going to do tech because I saw that movie, The Social Network, and was pretty sure by now I'd be a billionaire with groupies. Which I don't know if my wife would super appreciate, but and so yeah, I mean, like, and then I did tech, and then like I was like, okay, I just dove in, and that was a good experience because I had no idea what I was doing, and then I did some more tech stuff, and I had a little bit better of an idea of what I was doing, but still mostly not, and then like marketing kind of organically evolved for me, right? As like the thing I was good at, and like and then like I started getting like clients kind of organically, and it went from there, but. How'd you arrive at marketing agency?
So right before I got out, the commandant of the Marine Corps, like that's the top dog, right? 4-star general. He takes a trip to Southeast Asia. At the time, I'm his special advisor for Asia. So I go with him. And, we're cruising around Thailand. I'm doing stuff to support his official visit. And right at the end of it, I had worked out a deal where I basically would, stay for like a week and do some, we call it language and cultural, refresher training. And, he comes back, I stick around. And during that time, I am like, okay, I don't know if I'm getting out, but I'm pretty confident. I think I am, right? I hadn't quite made the decision. So let me scope out some things. Well, guess what I came up with? I was going to import coconuts, fresh coconuts. I was going to.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, straight up. I kid you not. I was going to start a fresh coconut brand, and that was my big plan. So I took like a couple day trips, networked with some people, went and found like a manufacturer. So there's a province in Thailand that makes the most delicious, amazing, like it's the species that I'm speaking of only grows in that one province in Thailand. And it's just the best coconuts in the world. Absolutely.
James, I'm going to Thailand next year, so you have to tell me where the best coconuts in the world are.
Dude, I'll even introduce you to the supplier. She's still there and cranking it. She's really good at what she does. Yeah. But that was it, man. Happy to.
Okay, so you're sitting there and you're like coconut importer. That's cool. I love it. Fast forward, marketing agency. But like, what do those steps look like? So did you start like actually working on the coconut importing, or like because you still had time left in the Marines, right?
Yeah, so that was the problem. So there was a little bit of disjointed there stuff going on with respect to timing, right? So I come back from that trip. It's now March. I make a decision within a week after getting back. Yeah, okay, I'm doing it. If you or your audience have done anything around the military, like it's not as simple as, hey, I'm going to leave now. Okay, great. Here's your papers. Have a good day. Bye. It doesn't work that way, right? It's like it's a lengthy process to get out. So I had to go through a series of, they essentially wanted me to wait 6 months. And I was like, no, I'm not waiting 6 months. Like I want out within the next 2 to 3 months. So I had to go get special permission. There's a whole series of bureaucratic things they had to do. So I couldn't really focus on anything except that process until the day they let me go. And then once they did, kind of like the prime opportunity to make things happen because of the summer season here had already like eclipsed. So two things happened there. One, I realized, hey, I don't know how to actually bring this to market. So in the Marine Corps, I was a logistics officer, so like working out the logistical arrangements of stuff, I'm good at that, organization and so on. But trying to do this in a business context, in other words, take things to market successfully, I hadn't done something like that in like over 16 years, because I had been serving the entire time. So this is where, potentially your audience is going to have a little chuckle, and I invite them to, because looking back on it, I kind of chuckle. I was looking on YouTube, like, how do I get people to buy coconuts? And I found a video by Neil Patel, of all people. And he basically kind of opened my eyes to, hey, look, the world of marketing, and your using online tools as an option for that has totally changed. So fast forward, I realized, hey, look, I got to really get deep in online marketing. I got to get good at it. I got to build a team and, competent, capable people. And my core idea there was, essentially to have like a marketing hit team, and then I could launch brand after brand after brand and scale and grow that way.
No, it's smart. That's a smart approach.
Well, when it eventually comes together, we're not quite there yet. Although it's interesting that we're having this conversation, because a year and a half later, that's actually what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm in the process of doing.
So you're putting together this marketing hit team, right? And I assume like at this point you're going out looking for partners. I know that you really emphasized we were getting everything together, like kind of the co-founder, status, and I love that. Teamwork makes the dream work, right? So you're putting the marketing hit team together. Tell me about that.
That one's actually a continual work in progress, is what I would tell you. Because as you know, I mean, You see opportunities, you work them. It's like jujitsu, dude. Have you ever done like MMA or jujitsu or anything like that?
Yeah, actually, my old sparring partner was on Ultimate Fighter, the show. I think he was only on like the one episode. He like went home right away, but yeah, great fighter, and yeah, kicked my ass up and down. So,
Well,
like,
that may be true, but I'm sure you had glory moments, is what I must say. So, you know,
I
yeah.
did actually. He fought in Bellator for a while, and I got him to tap like a handful of times, and like every time like he'd fight like professionally, I'd just be like, "You see that guy? I got him to tap." Like 6 years after the fact or whatever. But yeah,
I love
so
it.
yeah, it was
Yeah,
funny.
it's good
But
stuff, man.
yeah,
So I see team building as like your glory moment, right? So you got your ups and downs, but sometimes you'll get in that position and okay, I got the advantage, I got the wind. All I got to do is I got to work it. I'm right here, and now let me just work it, right? Let me dig in a little deeper until it settles in and they can't take it anymore. Boom, tap, they're out. Just as you're about to finish yourself, right? Like you've given it everything to hold that one positional advantage you've got, and you don't quit. That's what I'm talking about. So team building, that is team building. And so you'll have moments where you're like, okay, I'm working it. I'm working. We're in there. Oh yeah, glory. Everyone's happy. Everyone's got a high. We're killing this shit.
I'm literally gonna turn. We're working it. We're working it. Oh yeah, glory into like a clip to promote this episode. That's the leader. We're leading with that.
Dude, I told you before we got on this, you don't know what you're getting into.
It's hilarious. So yeah, no, I get what you're saying though, right? Like, you fight, and then like right on the other side of I don't have enough is where it actually is, right? When you can push yourself to that place.
That's always where it happens, is when you think you're at the end of your limit. That's when the breakthrough is about to happen. Doesn't matter. Really, this metaphor applies to everything. But it's true of teamwork, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. So okay, so you're watching Neil Patel videos. You're gonna launch all of these brands, right? And like you're gonna do
Not all
this.
at once, but yes, that's the long-term vision.
No, not all at once. Yeah. But yeah, the long term vision is this portfolio of brands. And so how do you actually get from there to like marketing services, right? And what were the early days of that like?
Man, you have to go deep here, don't you? Okay, now we're going to get into some emotional scarring territory, all right? So I realized very early on, I didn't know anything about anything. And I was very honest with myself about that, right? So for better or worse, this is what I chose to do. I went deep on cat house material. I forked out, I'm sure a lot of people have done this. I'm hoping a lot of people have done this, so it's not just me. I forked out a lot of cash, and I worked 18-hour days. And I basically have done this up until just a month ago. I was working 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, in order to learn, apply, and build. That's everything. That's systems. That's my baseline knowledge. I have spent gobs and gobs and gobs of cash on two things. One is training, a little bit on coaching, but not a lot. Done a little bit on coaching, but definitely the training. And the other piece of this is actually, like, I hate to say this, but like spending my money for the purpose of not wasting a client. Does that make sense? So what I didn't ever want to have happen was I bring on a client, promise them results, and then not actually know whether I could achieve it. That was a major concern for me.
No, definitely. I've had to do, I think any marketer that runs any sort of agency has had to do a make good at some point. Obviously you want to minimize those, but, it's an integrity move to be sure. So I think that we've all been there. I mean, I know I've had to do it in the past for whatever reason. And yeah, no, I think it's an integrity move of you to do that and bring it up. So yeah, good on you.
So if I go net, where do I stand a year and a half later? We are profitable, but nowhere near yet where I want to be, right? Does that make sense? Still an investment.
Congratulations. Yeah, that's an incredible Herculean achievement, right? To even hit profitability, right? Like many businesses don't. So, that's a big achievement. So, the early days of getting started, you've got your co-founder, right? You have a co-founder. How'd you all meet?
So where everyone meets their co-founders on Facebook. Isn't that how that works?
Yeah, I think so. That's true. But yeah, no, that's cool. So you met on Facebook, like in a group or something, or tell me about that.
Yeah. So, as I'm going through and I'm trying to, build up my ads management knowledge, my messenger marketing knowledge, and things like this, one thing that was always clear to me is that I don't want to actually be the person making the stuff, or like, to some extent, I mean, I want to know how to do it. I want to be able to get in there and do it myself. But I've always had, so this is coming back to one of your earlier questions about how, the military can be helpful, right? I was an officer and in a leadership position. So it was always clear to me that I should bring on experts that are way better than me. Like I would, if I invested 5 or 10 years, I wouldn't be at their level, or even 2 years, I wouldn't be at their level. And so that's actually how you and I first connected, because I'm like, hey, this guy's a freaking whiz. Let me talk to him.
I don't know about that. I think I've just hung out long enough to learn the buzzwords, but
Nah, come on, man. You're just being humble. But that's the thing that I'm getting at is like I go after people that are, and this is the promise I make my clients, right? Hey, you don't want me managing your ads. You want my team managing your ads, right? And or different aspects of your marketing. So when we talk teamwork and like co-founders, that's kind of how I work. Like I'm a super networker, and that's one of my super skills. People that get to know me over time, they're like, I'm looking for a solution to problem Y. Let me go talk to James. I bet he knows someone. That's how that plays out.
yeah, that it's surprising. That actually is like a huge part of this whole process that a lot of people unfortunately don't talk about, which is just being a helpful resource and kind of, especially if you work with like small, medium-sized businesses or even larger businesses, they're really just looking for outside help. And it's around marketing, right? Because that's what we do. But there are, the number of times I get asked for lawyers or accountants or whatever, because really it's just all about community and being there for each other as much as you can. No, that's great. So your day to day of running the agency, you started with this mindset of I am going to delegate as much as humanly possible.
Correct.
Cool. So what does your like day to day look like right now? As somebody that's like really embraced the like agency owner, team leader sort of role. Not to say that you of course know what you're doing and can roll up your sleeves and get in there if you want to, but it sounds like your focus is really on the other side of it. So tell me about that.
Brother, that is a great question. So let me preface it with a 10-second interlude. It took me probably 6 months to where I was like, okay, so I started off as Blue Kayak. To be frank with you, I was just getting started. It took me about 6 months, to really go, okay, I got a foundational set of knowledge. I have a kind of direction that I want to go with it. And so we've really tabled the Blue Kayak brand. We haven't really done anything with it in over a year. I partnered with my current partner and we launched Chat Cloud. And we wanted Chat Cloud in the beginning to be a messenger marketing agency focused on e-commerce brands. But one of the really cool things that I learned throughout the past year is knowledge development learning should be an ongoing activity and effort, but it's got to be secondary. The main thing you got to be doing is building the business, doing the money making activities. And one of the key points I was hitting on a moment ago is this idea of you want to partner with people that are complementary to you. They don't have the exact same skill set. They bring other skills to the table, whether that's, through personality or knowledge or a combination of the two. And this is kind of where military life again helps. I've always had this in my mind that I don't want people that are like me. I'm kind of a vision person. I can build systems and structures and all that, and I'm actually quite good at it, but it's not natural for me. What's natural for me is what we're doing right now, which is talking and communicating.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a lot of, self-awareness, right? To say that like, hey, my approach is great, but we need, kind of some diversity of thought and approaches when it comes to building this thing. And that's really important. No, that's really interesting. I've loved kind of learning about all of this. If you could boil it down to like one or two of like the best lessons you've learned, things you wish that you did earlier, and then one or two things that if you had to do it all over again, you wish you could have just avoided, obviously everything's a learning experience, but if you could rewind and change the journey a little bit, what would you change?
If I were to rewind a little bit and go back, I think that I would have focused on sales more aggressively from day one. If I could have gone back to the beginning, because I didn't really make that like my core focus. And, so as an agency owner, what I've learned is like the brand is essentially going to survive if I'm working to bring in the business, right? And a lot of the techniques I was using to do that were just too slow. Dude, in the last 6 months, we landed some major deals where we essentially were going to take equity in companies for running their marketing, right? I mean, like really big deals, potentially multi-million-dollar deals. That was not the right thing for who we were at the time. And it nearly crushed us because we were investing enormous time and energy in these equity deals. And we needed cash, right? Because if we didn't, I didn't have enough cash reserves to, do the 6-month investment.
Right. Yeah, I think that every marketer thinks about those sort of deals, right? But like in essence, you're almost becoming like a venture capital fund, and you have to be properly, funded yourself if you're going to take a route like that, And it's a great route. It can be for sure.
That is the long-term vision, actually. So the long-term vision for what I'm doing, this comes back to where we started, Chat Cloud, and I got Gym Zag. So the long-term vision is we're creating a single agency brand around a single vertical. And as we achieve scale and can put a team and a core pillar, in terms of like that team is generating the business, that team is fulfilling, they're getting great results. It's like a self-contained module. Then we go to the next agency brand and we do the same thing and we just replicate and replicate. So if I had anything that I would change, this is point number 2, is I would have, instead of saying, hey, messenger marketing is already a niche, which in a sense, it's like I'm offering one core type of service, but it's not really a niche. Does that make sense? We were working with everyone. We worked with e-com brands. We worked with CBD. We worked with HVAC places. It's just, we were all over the map. So every time we found ourselves doing that, it slowed our roll because we had to reinvent the wheel for that vertical. So this is the number one thing that led to GymZag, is that basically we're verticalized. We have a really solid offer. We have a really solid service. We know exactly what to say to them and how to talk to gyms and fitness studio owners. And, we know we can get results, 100%. We can get results. So it's like this verticalized agency concept is more the direction that we're headed. And, maybe one day it'll go from like 1 to 10. You know what I mean?
No, I love that. I think that it's interesting, the niche within the niche in a way, is really the right way to think about things. I think that you can definitely go vertical, but yeah, you're right. You end up kind of reinventing the wheel, whether it's e-com or whatever, like you're focused on the platform, right? But I get what you're doing. I think it's really smart. I think people get freaked out because they think, oh, this is too small of a niche. You know what I mean? It's too niche. And I'm not going to be able to make it work, but like the reality is that once you dig in, it's actually a lot bigger than most people think. So I think, would it be fair to say that, your kind of lesson learned of things not to do is not be afraid to like over niche in a way? Is that kind of a fair summation, or would you rephrase that differently?
What I would tell you is if you're fairly new to the agency space, niche down as fast as possible, because you're going to learn very, very quickly that you don't want to offer 20 types of services. You want to offer 1 or 2 core offers that you can easily fulfill on, and then scaling your agency, at least, like for the first 50K or so per month, is all going to be about the sales and closing process. Because, if you don't know who you're talking to and what you're telling them, and you're not able to do that in an effective way, they're not going to work with you. I mean, I've closed deals left, right, and center with all kinds of different businesses. And, now that we're focused on gyms and fitness studios, oh man, my pipeline is so easy. And when I get people on the phone, I don't have to think too hard. I just go, I just ask the right questions. I get the right answers back. I give it back to them. I mirror to some extent, and so on, right? So yeah, I would definitely say start broad to some extent, figure out what you like, and then niche down as fast as possible. And if you're taking more than 3 to 6 months to do that, you're taking too long.
Well, I love that. I think that that's like really incredibly powerful advice. Honestly, this whole thing has been really interesting to kind of learn. I think you have a really unique perspective compared to anybody else I've had on here, and I love it. And so I really, truly appreciate your time, truly appreciate you educating our audience and me on, kind of your approach to things, and truly thank you. I always give everybody the chance to pitch something here at the end for 1 or 2 minutes. So I want to give you that opportunity now.
Cool. I wish I had it prepared beforehand, but here's what I'll tell you. Okay, so one of the things that we've done is we've launched a platform called LAMP. It's the Lead Automation Marketing Platform. Okay, and it's built on Go High Level. Go High Level is a CRM funnel builder, SMS, email, multi-channel messaging platform. So we're taking LAMP, and it's essentially meant to be interesting, LAMP, right? Shine a light on things. It's meant to be interesting, but at the same time, generic enough that other agencies can get on there, use it. But look, here's the main point. If you're an agency owner and you would like to learn more about that, or you'd like to learn about how it could help you with your agency work, come talk to me. Okay. Like, for example, right after this call, as soon as I get off, I'm going to meet with an e-com expert, and we're going to talk about LAMP, Go High Level. She's got the option. She can build on our platform, or she can go straight to Go High Level and do it there, and we'll support her. So that's what I want to offer you.
Absolutely. Well, that's wonderful. I think I would definitely encourage folks to check that out. And so, James, thank you so much again for your time. For everybody out there listening, take these lessons to heart. Really learn from James' unique perspective. Learn about, don't be afraid to over niche. Focus on process. Get out there and grow your agencies.